This is the Ohio AgNet from the voice you know at the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Veltima Fungicide, the proven #1 for the toughest corn diseases with long-lasting residual, when you need to be confident your fungicide will perform. I'm Ty Higgins. How is Ohio taking advantage of the biodiesel boom? The first Ohio's Country Journal coffee shop stop is in the books, and a great-looking forecast for field work. This morning's news feed is delivered by Ebert's Field Seeds, proven local seed performance for Ohio farmers. It's time to start planting Ebert's. Call 937-473-2521 or visit ebertsseeds.com. The biodiesel industry is expected to continue growing globally, supported by government policy, rising fossil fuel prices, technological advancements in feedstock processing, and of course the work of the Ohio Soybean Council. Kylie Holbrook is their policy and demand coordinator.
You alluded to that government policy. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it's been a little bit disrupted over the past years, but biodiesel is continually trending upward in demand across the U.S. and in states like Ohio, kind of to our surprise sometimes. So we really started seeing the history of biodiesel with large demand on the West Coast in states like California and Oregon and Washington. They were the first states to adopt what's called a low carbon fuel standard. And so biodiesel really started to boom over on the West Coast. But as we kind of talk about biodiesel, it really started as this environmentally friendly fuel, and it still is. It always will be. But we're starting to see trends more in the Midwestern states and in Southern states of understanding that biodiesel is we joke in the office that it's a fuel farmed here. It's a fuel we can make in the United States, and that demand for a nationally supplied fuel is starting to creep across the U.S. and even break into kind of that East Coast demand as well. So demand for biodiesel is continually trending upward across the U.S.
You mentioned it started out west, but our very own Dale Minyo, who is now retired, along with the Ohio Soybean Council, really a trailblazer for talking about running his truck on soy biodiesel for many, many years and hundreds of thousands of miles. As we continue to see this growth into the middle part of the country, how can Ohio play a role in the biodiesel industry?
Yeah, so Ohio actually, again, to our surprise, is one of the top 10 consuming states of biodiesel. So we rank in the top 10 of consumption, but kind of the odd piece for us is that we are one of the only states in the top 10 for consumption that doesn't actually produce biodiesel in the state. So we have to source all of our biodiesel from our other Midwest friends. And that's really important for a state like Ohio because, Ty, as we talk about expansion on the East Coast for demand, and we look at where we're placed on the soybean belt, we are in prime area geographically to supply that demand on the East Coast. And so as we start to see demand increase, as we start to see government policy reflect what that demand increase will look like, I think Ohio plays a prime role in potentially bringing production back into the state and being able to capitalize on that demand both locally in Ohio and across the East Coast and across the southern states in the U.S.
I also talk with Ryan Harbison with AgriLiquid about tissue sampling and the return on investment for doing those samples, especially when fertilizer costs are still a major concern.
Yeah, you got to determine what your economic threshold is, right? Is this $10 application? Do we think that that's going to be enough to get me that return, right? And a lot of guys like to see a 3-to-1 return whenever we talk about making an application. So by making this and making the plant look prettier, right, are we actually going to get our $30 back out of that? And that's something that you got to talk with your trusted professional on to see what the regional data says, and can we actually overcome some of that.
More of my conversations about biodiesel and tissue sampling on the new Ohio AgNet podcast powered by Ohio Corn and Wheat, online at ohioagnet.com. On Friday, we teamed up with Leist Mercantile for the first Ohio's Country Journal coffee shop stop, headed to Adams County and West Union at Mikey's Family Restaurant. That's where Brett Barton, the guy who nominated Mikey's, was there with a bunch of other farm buddies talking about what's happening in that part of the state.
Me and guys got an early jump on stuff and got some crops in. We had a real good spring. got cold and had a frost, and so guys had to replant some soybeans. Some corn took a pretty big hit in the area. Then everything started looking good, and we've had about 8 inches of rain this past month.
We're making another stop on Friday. We heading to your hometown hangout? Well, if you didn't get them entered, we're certainly not. You can find out more at ocj.com/coffee shop and sign up your local spot today. Let's get a check of the forecast now with Ryan Martin, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com.
No threats here. We are sunny, warm, and dry today. Oh, we'll call it partly sunny today. Then mostly sunny, warm, and dry tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. At this point, high pressure parks right over the top of us at midweek and keeps us dry through the early part of the weekend. Now, later weekend, we're talking Saturday night through Sunday, we start to see scattered showers develop coming in from the west and northwest, and those showers linger through Monday the 8th, Tuesday the 9th, and even into early Wednesday the 10th. Combined, we can see anywhere from a quarter to 1, maybe 1.5 inches of rain, the higher end of the range coming with thunderstorms, but 100% coverage, drying down for Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, and early Friday before moisture comes back the latter part of the weekend of the 13th and 14th. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Ryan, thank you. A significant change to the farm safety net is giving landowners a chance to better align federal program coverage with today's farming operations. The USDA Farm Service Agency has announced a one-time opportunity for eligible landowners to increase base acres on farms enrolled in the Agriculture Risk Coverage, or ARC, and Price Loss Coverage, or PLC programs. The review period runs from June 1st through August 31st. The change was authorized through federal legislation passed last year and marks the first opportunity to add base acres since 2002. Nationwide, as many as 30 million new base acres could be added to eligible farms. USDA says the updates will be based on planting history from 2019 through 2023 and are designed to better reflect current production patterns. Farms that have expanded acreage or changed crop rotations over the years could see increased eligibility for future farm program benefits. You can read more about this significant change to the Farm Safety Net program online now at ohioagnet.com. Did you know that June is National Dairy Month? We celebrate starting today with the American Dairy Association Mideast as they join us for the midday broadcast. Learn more about National Dairy Month and your checkoff dollars at work here in the Buckeye State at drink-milk.com. The Ohio AgNet continues after this.
Hi, I'm Tyler Miller, a soybean farmer from Crawford County. When I grow soybeans, I'm not just raising a crop, I'm creating fuel at home. Biodiesel adds nearly $2 to our bushel price and strengthens our energy independence. If you're not using biodiesel on your farm, now's the time. If you're not sure how to get it, ask your local fuel supplier. Ready to turn last year's crop into this year's fuel? Learn more at soyohio.org.
This message is brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Be aware, ticks are there. As you head outdoors, remember to avoid tall grass, wear light-colored full-coverage clothing, and use EPA-registered repellent. Be sure to thoroughly check for ticks after you head in for the day. If you find any ticks, remove them carefully with tweezers and watch for symptoms such as fever, headache, or rash. For more information on ticks and tick bite prevention, head over to ohio.gov/ticks.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins. The Ohio AgNet back to feeding farmers over the summer. It's a statewide contest, and winners will be chosen soon for a visit from Ohio AgNet with free lunch for your farm family and crew. Visit ohioagnet.com/feedingfarmers to enter, and hopefully we'll be at your farm this growing season. Brought to you by Ag Revolution, Paradise Energy Solutions, and Ohio AgNet. Some prestigious awards given out recently to Ohio farmers. With today's featured audio, here's Dusty Sonnenberg.
Joining me today is Brandon Kern, Deputy Executive Director of the Ohio Soybean Association. Brandon, thanks for your time. We want to talk conservation a little bit. There's a program that the American Soybean Association has had for years, recognizing the importance of farmers and their conservation practices. Now, that program coming to Ohio with a Ohio-specific program. Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, Dusty, we're really excited to launch a state-level Ohio Soybean Association Conservation Award to recognize, all the great things that farmers do from a conservation standpoint. We have a rich history in Ohio, I think, amongst our farmers of really embracing conservation, and we just want to find a way to recognize those efforts at the at the state level. The national programs had a lot of success, and just a great way to recognize these efforts at the state level.
Sure, a lot of leaders in the conservation arena coming from the state of Ohio. Neat that the association is stepping up to create a little bit of local recognition, if you will. Tell us more. If someone is, how would someone know if they qualify for it, or how would somebody be nominated for it?
Yeah, so there will be an application process that can be accessed at our website. So you can go to www.soyohio.org/OSA conservation to apply for the award. You have to be a Ohio Soybean Association member to apply for the award. But, I think simply what we're going to be looking at and kind of scoring for the applicants is, how have you implemented conservation practices on your farm? So, no-till practices, using cover crops, how have you controlled water and erosion on your farm? All those standard types of things. But I think another measure too that we're really looking for is, how have you as a farmer also been a leader in helping tell the story of conservation and the value of conservation. And a big focus for us is both the environmental benefits, how we tell that story of the environmental benefits that conservation provides, but then also how it leads to more profitability on the farm. How soil quality and through your experience on the farm has led to better profitability because you've improved that soil health on your farm is a good example of what this award is seeking to recognize as well, and how farmers have been an ambassador and tell that story to other farmers as well would be a big component of this. Another piece of this, Dusty, is there's some pretty cool prizes involved. So the winner of the Ohio Conservation Award will get a free subscription to BAM Weather.
Oh, nice.
The BAM Weather app for a year. And then they will automatically be who our nominee is to the national, so the American Soybean Association's Conservation Legacy Award. And if you win that ASA award, you get a free trip to Commodity Classic as a part of winning that. So a lot of recognition and some valuable prizes involved in this as well.
Absolutely. Definitely worth taking the time to fill out the application. If you're doing the work already, might as well go ahead, apply. Some great opportunities there with those prizes. And it just helps us tell the story of all the good things going on in the Buckeye State. Again, my guest today, Brandon Kern with the Ohio Soybean Association.
Thank you, Dusty. We'll check the markets and analysis coming up next as the Ohio AgNet continues.
Every bushel you grow needs a market. That's why the Ohio Soybean Council is working to expand demand for Ohio soybeans around the world. Your checkoff supports international outreach, trade team visits, and putting Ohio soy in front of global buyers. By showcasing the quality, reliability, and value of Ohio soybeans, you can count on new opportunities and increased demand today and into the future. Visit soyohio.org to see all the ways your Ohio soybean checkoff is at work, expanding markets for your beans.
Whether you're in the fields or on the farm, creating a safer work environment has never been easier. BWC's safety consulting services are included with your policy premiums and offer training and education for everyone in your farming operation. It's always the right time to make safety a priority. Visit bwc.ohio.gov or call 1-800-644-6292. The Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, here to help you work safely.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins, and today's market analysis is brought to you by Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to bring a brand new soybean crush facility to Upper Sandusky. Learn more about marketing your beans with LDC at 574-566-2113. Here's Ryan Martin.
Markets finished out on a lower note last Friday. Corn, beans, and wheat all down. The big story of the week, Trump ended the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. And that is probably the main story to finish out last week. Energy markets fell. Corn and soybeans followed the energy markets down. The U.S.'s ending of the naval blockade was a positive sign that the Strait of Hormuz will actually be reopening. Iranian crude oil tankers can try to exit the strait. However, there needs to be a definitive response from Iran that vessels from all nations can transit the strait without fear of fees or tolls. The Iranian response was awaited last Friday. Over the weekend, we heard that the strait was opening and perhaps even Iran had agreed to some kind of nuclear wording as well. We'll see whether that holds as we get into market trade here today. Otherwise, it was a slow week on weekly export sales. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. Overnight Markets brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Corn higher by a penny, the beans up by 3 to 4.5, and wheat higher by 2 1/4. Get more of today's farm news, markets, and weather online at ohioagnet.com. I'm Ty Higgins. We'll see you down the road.